Hello, friend! Today I want to give you 7 specific tips for how to hand letter in your journal or your planner. I know that hand lettering often includes larger size brush pens, and it can kind of be tricky to fit that into a smaller size page like what you may find in a bullet journal. Even with the best of brush lettering, it may look a bit messy or just off if you're struggling to fit your lettering into your journal or your planner. So today I'm sharing those 7 tips for how to hand letter in your journal. And with that said, let's get right into the video. Tip number 1 is to use a smaller sized brush pen. Some of these popular brush pens are great for brush lettering, but look what happens when I try to use them in my dot grid journal. I don't have much space left to actually put my plans in for the day. And while the lettering might be okay, it does look kind of messy because it's kind of all over the page. In comparison, here are a couple of smaller brush pens. I have the Pentel Touch and also the Monami Plus. And the Monami Plus is actually not as much a brush pen, but because the tip is so small and firm, we can create a really beautiful brush lettered look, but on a smaller scale. Not only does this allow us more space to write our actual plans for the day, it also looks a bit neater, and I think neatness is something that a lot of us love in a planner or a journal. The second tip for hand lettering in your journal is to go slow. I know that I talk a lot about writing slowly when it comes to brush lettering, but this also goes for handwriting too. Here I am sharing a comparison of my own hand lettering and handwriting, going more slowly on the top and then more quickly on the bottom. Not only is it easier for me to focus on my individual strokes, it's also easier for me to pay attention to things like spacing, sizing, and making sure I'm not writing at a slant. All of those simple details that can have a huge impact on how your hand lettering looks. Tip number 3 is to take it one stroke at a time. Here I'm going to split up my simple strokes into different colors so you can see a visual example of what I mean. Each letter in the hand-lettered alphabet is made up of strokes. There actually aren't even a ton of strokes that make up the alphabet, so learning these by themselves can be really helpful to simplify the hand lettering process. As you can see in the example of just these first few letters, there are already multiple letters drawn that have the same base stroke of an oval. Learning these individual strokes can be super helpful. I actually have a free 7-day hand lettering course that also includes free printables to help you learn many different strokes, which I think is vital for learning how to hand letter using a brush pen. If you have not joined that mini course already, you can go to my website, howtohandletter.com/mini course to sign up today. I can also leave a link in the description box below. So when I'm hand lettering, even after all these years, I still lift up my pen after almost every stroke. You don't have to use a different color like I did in the example, and it doesn't have to be a long pause. Just a simple, quick pause to help you readjust or keep in that lettering flow can be super helpful. In this example of the word grateful, the top is where I'm not lifting my pen, and the bottom is where I am lifting my pen. Now technically there's nothing wrong with the top lettering, and that may be a style that you're going for. But for me, it's a bit rushed and my upstrokes are not thin. That's because I need that little pause to reset and make sure that I'm easing up on my pressure when going up on my strokes. For me, this comes with drawing one stroke at a time. Tip number 4 is to try a new style. It's true, I think there are lots of people who just simply don't prefer to use a brush pen in their journals, and that's okay. I personally love monoline hand lettering, so it's not a downgrade in my opinion to hand letter using a regular felt-tipped pen or a ballpoint pen. We can use these types of pens to create monoline lettering, faux calligraphy, or even print lettering that looks beautiful and works well in our planners or journals. Tip number 5 is to use a dot grid or a grid style journal. Dots or lines in your journal can help you to create evenly sized lettering and can also help you not to write at a slant. Not only that, but for me, it makes drawing those boxes much easier. This also helps for print writing. And tip number 6 is to use a smooth paper. For a long time, I used smooth loose leaf paper with my hand lettering, but when it came to journals, I was just going for the thickest paper. And thick paper is amazing for certain things, like painting these florals. I wouldn't want to use so much water on a journal that had super thin pages because it would likely just end up pretty wrinkly. This journal that I'm using here has thick pages and has held up quite well to this water and paint. But when it comes to hand lettering, I have noticed that for me, smooth paper is really helpful. I discovered this Rhodia dot grid journal and I just love it for hand lettering. Whether it's brush pens or gel pens, I love the feel of writing on smooth paper. I think that the smooth paper helps me to feel a little bit more comfortable with my pen so that I'm able to create really nice handwriting. And tip number 7 is one that might be a bit underestimated, but is actually one of the very most important, and that is simply to practice. When I first started brush lettering, I felt like it should have been much easier than it was for me. I could have easily quit and just thought that I was bad at it, and that's it. But it's an art form and it takes practice. You are not alone if this doesn't come easily for you immediately. And practice is so important. Yes, technique is important, and you will find lots of talk about technique in the free mini course as well, but practice is absolutely key. If you want to take some of the frustration out of your practice by tracing, you can join my free 7-day hand lettering course and get those printables sent to you for yourself. You can head to howtohandletter.com/mini-course to get signed up today. And as always, thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about how to hand letter, I'm going to put a playlist here that will help you get started today. Thank you again, and I will see you over in that next video.